All right, Chargers fans, buckle up because today's episode is packed with updates, draft talk, and some honest vibes straight from the kitchen to the war room. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because we're diving headfirst into everything you need to know as we approach one of the most critical periods for the Los Angeles Chargers. This is the kind of video where we go from slicing onions to slicing through scouting reports. So stay with me. Let's get one thing straight. The Chargers are not playing games when it comes to the NFL draft. Their approach this year is as calculated as ever, and they've been pretty transparent about the direction they're leaning toward. From pick strategy to trade potential, there's a whole game plan in motion, and it's more layered than it might appear at first glance. And yeah, while this channel is all about the Bolts, shout out to the occasional Detroit Lions fan who pops in for a look. I see you. But today we're diving deep into the powder blue world. Now I've got to keep it real. The hair's a bit messy today, and the fit is one of those outfits that works both indoors and out. You know the type. Comfortable but not sloppy. And maybe good enough for a casual bite or a quick trip to the store. Speaking of food, there was a chili situation going on earlier. I was cutting onions, and man, that hit me hard. Like real tears. Not the kind you fake when your team loses a heartbreaker, but the kind where your eyes betray you while you're trying to make dinner. But here's where it gets weird. While thinking about that chili, my mind wandered to Bloody Marys. Don't even like them. There's something about the flavor, the texture, the whole idea that just doesn't click for me. Some people swear by them. Me? I can't get past the first sip. It's kind of like sushi. It takes the right combination to get you to really enjoy it, and even then it might take a few tries. But sushi eventually made sense to me. Bloody Marys? Not yet. Still trying to figure out what the hype is all about. Alright, back to football, because there's a lot to unpack. The Chargers hold the 22nd overall pick in the upcoming draft. But let's not pretend that guarantees them a superstar. Statistically, the odds of landing the absolute top talent at that spot are pretty slim. And historically, teams that land around that range often find themselves in trade discussions. Remember 2018 and 2019. There was a team that had the 22nd pick in both years and ended up trading down 3 spots each time. Why? Because when you're drafting in that range, the difference in talent from pick 22 to pick 25 is often negligible. The trick is identifying teams that are hungry to move up, maybe for a quarterback, maybe for a flashy weapon, and then leveraging that urgency to gain more draft capital. That's where the Chargers front office shines. They're not just sitting there waiting for the board to fall their way. They've got contingency plans for every possible scenario. If the phone rings with an offer to move down, you better believe they're going to listen. And if the deal is sweet enough, say an extra 4th round pick or a future mid-rounder, there's a real chance they take it. There's actually optimism about being in this 22 spot, especially if they can slide back just a few places and still get the guy they want. And yeah, some people might misinterpret that as a lack of ambition, like they're content with always picking late in the round. But let's be honest, if you're picking 32nd, that means you won the Super Bowl. And if that's the long-term plan, sign me up. It's all about maximizing value in a draft class that's as deep as this one, especially at positions the Chargers desperately need to address. Trading back could mean more bites at the apple. And when you're trying to build a young, dynamic, and cost-effective roster, extra picks are pure gold. That flexibility allows them to plug holes without breaking the bank, especially when the cap space is tight and veteran contracts are stacking up. Now, speaking of needs, let's talk roster construction. Other teams might be walking into this draft with only a couple of glaring holes to fill. Maybe they need a defensive tackle, or a depth cornerback, or a slot receiver. The Chargers, they've got some serious work to do. We're talking major positions of need. Offensive line, depth, pass rush, wide receiver help, secondary reinforcements. The list goes on. This isn't a best player available situation. This is a we need a starter yesterday situation. When you break down the top 100 prospects in this class, the Chargers are likely to be picking around players who can fill immediate roles. There's a defensive end on the radar, and there's a particularly intriguing offensive tackle, Tyler Booker. This guy would be a fun pick. Not just solid, fun. The kind of athlete you plug in and watch him grow into. A cornerstone. Then there's Jair Campbell, Matthew Golden, names that are hovering in that expected range. And let's not forget Cam Ward, who's sitting ranked at 13 and might actually go number 1 overall, which would shake up the entire board, and push a lot of value down toward the Bolts. What makes this even more fascinating is how favorable the Chargers' home schedule is looking. Division games are always tough. That's just how the AFC West rolls. But when you look at who's coming to SoFi Stadium this season, there's a lot to like. Teams from the AFC South, not exactly scary. The Colts and Texans aren't pushing fear into anyone. The NFC East adds a wrinkle, but even then the matchups aren't overwhelming. Real talk, this might be one of the more balanced home slates they've had in years. You can't ask for much more. Of course, the road games are another story entirely. That's where things get dicey. Traveling across time zones, facing well-coached squads, unpredictable weather, it all stacks up. But even then, there's a path to success. The projections have the Chargers at 9.5 wins. That's right, 9.5. And when you break it down, wins against Miami, Dallas, the Giants, the Jaguars, and the Titans are totally on the table. Add a couple of road victories, and you're easily in the 8-win territory without even trying too hard. Look, I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but when you line up the matchups and think logically, there are at least 6 winnable games on the road alone. Then you factor in home field advantage, some late season momentum, maybe a breakout rookie or two, and suddenly 10 wins doesn't seem out of reach. We'll get into more draft strategy in a minute. What picks the Chargers hold? What assets they could flip? What kind of roster build they should prioritize? But before we do, I've got to circle back real quick. Bloody Marys. Still not a fan. I've tried. I've wanted to be that person at brunch who confidently orders one, makes a joke about the spice level, and sips it like it's the nectar of the gods. But I just can't. Haven't had alcohol since July, and honestly, loving it. Clarity, energy, fewer regrets on Monday morning. But even back when I did drink, Bloody Marys never made the cut. They're just one of those drinks where you either love it or you don't. No middle ground. So yeah, I'm missing that piece of the brunch puzzle. Still, it's something I think about way too often. And while we're talking food, tacos have been dominating the conversation lately. No joke. It feels like every other conversation around here eventually circles back to tacos. Beef, chicken, al pastor, doesn't matter. Tacos are life. And now we're starting to get into taco versus Bloody Mary debates, which I guess is a weird way to measure personal taste. But hey, it's all part of the vibe leading into the draft. It's food, it's football, it's the community. That's what makes this time of year so much fun. All right, let's keep this rolling, because the draft talk is just heating up. We've covered strategy, pick position, team needs, and even brunch drinks. But now it's time to really break down the heartbeat of this Chargers offseason. This team isn't just planning for this year. They're laying down the foundation for what could be a multi-year window of competitiveness, and the front office knows exactly what's at stake. What makes this particular draft so important isn't just where the Chargers are picking. It's how many holes they need to fill and how deep this class actually is. You don't get many chances to build a roster like this through the draft alone, and with limited cap space to chase after big-name free agents, this year's rookie class becomes absolutely crucial. It's not just about talent, it's about value, finding players who can contribute early on their rookie deals and allow the team to reinvest elsewhere. That's the blueprint if you want to contend in the long run. Now, when you look at the Chargers' current depth chart, there are clear spots where an immediate upgrade would have a massive impact. The offensive line has some solid pieces, but it lacks true depth. One injury could shift the entire dynamic. The wide receiver room has talent, but also question marks. And with the speed of the modern NFL, you can't afford to be a step behind. On defense, the edge rush needs more juice. There's talent, sure, but we need consistency. A young, explosive edge rusher could bring that spark, especially someone who can rotate in and make an impact on third downs. Then there's the matter of team identity. The Chargers have been hovering in that middle zone for a while. Good enough to compete, not quite great enough to break through. What they need now is an identity, a smash-mouth, aggressive, physical team that plays fast and hits hard. And that starts with how you draft. That starts with getting guys who aren't just athletic, but who love the game, who bring fire, who want to put the franchise on their back and lead. One thing that really sets this draft apart is how many prospects are coming in with versatility. You're seeing guys who can play multiple positions, shift from inside to outside, or switch between man and zone coverage without missing a beat. That's gold in today's NFL, where schemes are so flexible and offenses are constantly evolving. The Chargers need players like that. Guys who don't just fill a role, but open up the playbook. And look, let's not forget the intangibles. Leadership, accountability, resilience. This team has dealt with some brutal losses over the past few seasons, games they should have won, comebacks that fell short, injuries that derailed promising starts. What they need are draft picks who can step into that locker room and raise the standard. Not just perform, but set the tone. That stuff matters more than people think. Coaches notice it. Teammates feed off it. Fans feel it. You draft for talent? Yes. But you win with culture. There's also the wild card factor. Every year there's a name that drops. A guy everyone thought would go top 15, but for whatever reason starts slipping. Medicals, interviews, testing numbers. Sometimes it's just a matter of fit. The Chargers need to be ready to pounce if that happens. Being at pick 22 gives them that kind of flexibility. Maybe it's a wide receiver with top 10. Talent who falls because of scheme questions. Maybe it's a defensive back who didn't run the 40 as fast as expected. That's where smart teams separate themselves, by having done the homework and not getting scared off by surface level metrics. And while we're here, let's talk about the AFC West for a minute. You can't build your team in a vacuum. You've got to look around and see what your rivals are doing. The Chiefs are still the measuring stick. The Broncos are trying to reboot again. And the Raiders are, well, they're the Raiders. But the bottom line is, to win this division, you got to match physicality and outsmart some elite coaching staffs. That's why the draft matters so much. These picks aren't just about filling out the roster. They're about closing the gap. Now, looking back at the schedule for a second, and this ties directly into the draft strategy. When you know the teams you're facing, you also know the type of players you'll need. If you got a slate full of fast offenses, you need speed in your secondary. If you're staring down physical running backs every week, your front seven better be able to hit and wrap up. The Chargers can't afford to get bullied anymore. That's what makes these selections so pivotal. You draft to win your schedule. I'll say this too. The vibes around this team feel different. There's a quiet confidence building. It's not about flashy press conferences or hyped up workouts. It's about a focused energy. Like everyone in the building knows, the next few months are going to define the next few years. That kind of pressure can either crack you or forge something special. I think the Chargers are leaning toward the second one. There's a hunger here, a real one. And hey, back to that chili from earlier. It came out pretty solid, not gonna lie. Could have used a little more kick, but the balance was there. And just like building a draft board, it's all about balance. You don't want too much of one thing. You want depth, versatility, spice, and structure. You want to know that if one ingredient doesn't work, the others can still carry the dish. That's where this team is right now. They've got the base. Now it's time to add the right ingredients and let it simmer into something great. Whether it's the first round or the 7th, every pick counts. Every rep matters, and every conversation we have leading up to draft night, it's part of the process. It's not just about football. It's about the passion, the community, the belief that this year could finally be the one. And maybe, just maybe, with the right picks, the right mindset, and a little bit of luck, we'll be talking about more than just potential. We'll be talking about results. Stay tuned, because this ride is just getting started. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Los Angeles Chargers. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a stunning twist that has sent shockwaves through the NFL world, star quarterback Joe Burrow is heading to the Los Angeles Chargers. Sources close to the situation confirmed late Sunday night that a last-minute deal was struck between the featured Cincinnati Bengals and the Chargers, finalizing one of the most unexpected moves in recent league history. The agreement reportedly came together quickly, with negotiations intensifying over the weekend. Although details of the trade have not yet been officially disclosed, early reports suggest the Chargers have offered a significant package that includes multiple first-round picks and key players. The move signals a massive shift in direction. For both franchises, the Bengals part ways with their franchise quarterback just years after drafting him first overall, while the Chargers secure one of the league's most talented passers to take over under center. Burrow, known for his elite accuracy, poise in the pocket, and leadership, was seen as the face of the Bengals' future. His departure leaves a massive void in Cincinnati and raises immediate questions about the team's plans moving forward. Will they look to the draft for a replacement, or is another trade already in the works? As for the Chargers, this move could be the spark the franchise has been seeking. Despite boasting a talented roster in recent years, inconsistency at the quarterback position and coaching changes have kept them from making a deep playoff run. With Burrow now in Los Angeles, expectations will skyrocket. Fans are already dreaming of playoff victories and potential Super Bowl contention. The NFL world will be watching closely as this blockbuster deal continues to unfold. Official confirmation and press conferences are expected in the coming days. But one thing is certain, Joe Burrow is now a Los Angeles Charger, and the league may never look the same. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Los Angeles Chargers, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.